When a child struggles with big emotions, do you know what to say beyond just breathe? Award-winning educator Cassie Brooks shares practical mental health techniques like the sock drawer strategy and discrete tapping methods that kids can actually use when they need them most. I'm Tom.
And I'm Jeannie. We are siblings on a mission to help kids become their strongest selves. Each episode, we share proven strategies with parents, teachers, and coaches to build resilient, confident kids who can tackle life's challenges and thrive. Welcome to the Raising Resilient Kids podcast.
Our question for this month is, let me go ahead and read it off. It says, you share a lot of great ideas on the podcast, but I'm having difficulty teaching them to my child. Do you have any tips on how to present these techniques to kids? And I think that's a great question because we do talk about all the techniques, but really don't give tips on how to actually explain it. So this month, we are very excited and grateful to have Cassie Brooks with us. Jeannie, I actually saw Cassie speak at a teacher conference in Indianapolis, and she went over this exact topic, gave a ton of tips. So that's why I asked her to be here.
Cool.
So let me just give you a little bit of background on her. Cassie's in her 25th year of teaching middle school, health and physical education in Brownsburg, Indiana. She's currently president of the Indiana Society for Health and Physical Educators. Cool. Cassie has her BA in Health Education from Ball State. As a master's in curriculum and instruction, she's recognized as the Midwest Health Teacher of the Year in 2018. Wow. Her career passions include helping health educators move to skills-based teaching and leaning into challenging topics. Cassie's a volunteer ambassador for Erika's Lighthouse and is very involved in her church and community. She loves to hike, kayak, garden, camp, and travel. And the fun fact I saw in her bio is that her husband, and her two teenage boys manage their church cemetery.
Okay, we're going to need to ask about that one later.
We definitely going to
I'm going to need to know. We'll do the question of the month
That's
first.
quite a fun fact.
I definitely added that to my list of questions. Excellent. Yeah, Cassie, if you could take that first question for us. Any ideas for our listener there, how to help teach this stuff to kids? Tips on that?
Yeah. One of the things that I think is really important is that we model what we expect from our kids. When we're teaching little kids how we wash our hands, we do it in front of them. We show them, see, I wash my hands too. This is how I do it. And I think a lot of times we do a really good job of teaching kids how to physically take care of themselves, but not so much mentally, emotionally. And oftentimes, if our kids are having emotions, we're often having emotions too. And so part of it is me calming myself down. And I've been teaching middle school health for a long time. And my kids know when they see me pause, close my eyes, take those deep breaths, they're like, something's happening. And they see that my face just kind of changes. I will do that to show them I'm consciously choosing right now to get myself regulated better. Sure. So I'll model that for them. The other thing is I do a lot with stigma and reducing stigma. I begin my unit on mental health by talking to kids like, you guys ever have headaches? I get headaches every once in a while. You know, have you ever had a really bad headache? Yeah, they usually have. When you have a headache, you don't hide and pretend you're fine. When you have a headache, you might say to people, yeah, I have a headache right now. Sorry, I'm having a hard time focusing. Sure. Or you might say, I just need to take a break for a little bit. And we take care of ourselves when we have that physical pain in our head. But sometimes, adults included, we don't do the best job of taking that break and asking for help and letting people know when we're struggling with emotional pain. Sure. I sometimes forget that it's okay to take a break and it's okay to tell people. And I'm like, if your friend says, I got a headache, or a family member, I've got a headache, you wouldn't say, then stop having a headache. Headaches stink.
Right.
So true.
Yeah.
You know, you wouldn't say to someone when they're having a headache, well, then why don't you just tell yourself to not have a headache anymore? Like, it doesn't go away because you wish it away. And similarly, when we feel bad, it just doesn't disappear because we want it to disappear. We sometimes need to do things to take care of ourselves. So I always start by kind of destigmatizing and sharing when I'm not feeling my best, whether that's because I literally have a headache, which as a middle school teacher, far too common. But I'm honest about it, and I say, hey, this is how I'm feeling. This is what I'm doing to try and get better and feel better. But here's what I might need from you guys to help support me. Can you do that for me? And so when they're sharing about their struggles, or I'm talking about me having a hard day, let them know, hey, it's okay to talk about this.
Yeah.
Some people don't tell us when they have a headache, but people have headaches. And same thing with our feelings too. We're going to have times where we don't feel okay. And it's okay to say, I could use a little bit of support, because we all need at times some encouragement. Maybe we need help figuring out what to do better that's going to help us feel better, because I don't know how to make myself feel better. And, sometimes it might even be if I have headaches a lot, and those headaches are really starting to get in the way of me being able to do my regular activities, then that's a sign I might need a little bit more help. I might need to see a professional about that. And that's okay too. The more we normalize talk about mental health struggles and acknowledge that everybody struggles at some time. It's not normal to be, I'm happy all the time, everything's great. We really need to take care of ourselves. And sometimes that includes admitting it's not great right now. And I'm having a hard day. Or I've had a hard couple of months. And that's okay too.
Sure.
And it seems like there's more and more resources out there to help people. And I know one of the things that you mentioned in the presentation that I saw was Erika's Lighthouse, I believe is what it was. Can you tell us a little bit about that, who that's for, what that's all about?
Yeah, Erika's Lighthouse is kind of my answer, because years ago, teaching health, I felt like I needed to address mental health. We weren't doing enough. We really needed to take it seriously, but I was afraid of going the wrong direction because it wasn't something I was really well trained for. And Erika's Lighthouse came to our In Shape conference, our Society for Health and Physical Education, like Tom came to last year, and they presented a session, and I was like, this is what I need. What's so awesome about them is they do depression education, which can sometimes, especially if untreated, can lead towards thoughts and feelings of suicide. Not always. Many times it doesn't. But if we just look at the end outcome and try to prevent the end outcome without addressing what are the things that we can do all along to take care of ourselves so that depression doesn't progress to the point of feeling thoughts and ideas of self-harm, if we're not teaching those kids who are in the middle, then they're just supposed to, I don't know, get over it.
Sure.
Erika's Lighthouse really focuses on several different things. They offer classroom education, lessons with videos, and the videos are actually students telling their stories. Kids of all different backgrounds. There's kind of the more science-y kind of a kid. There's a kid who's in a band. There's all these different kids represented. And they're talking about what they do for good mental health and also about how they've gotten help when they were struggling. Cool. They've built these empowerment clubs geared towards high school and middle school students to be able to have a group that celebrates taking care of your mental health and celebrates good mental health and promotes awareness of, like, it's okay not to be okay. And those kind of phrases that we hear sometimes, they also, and your audience may be very interested in hearing, provide a ton of family engagement strategies. Now, that could be for educators like me to reach out to the families of my students, but they have almost like tutorials on how to talk to your kid about these things. Just different things that you can talk to your kids about and how to model positive mental health strategies and even like screening tools if you're concerned. So they have a ton of resources for parents there. And they even do trainings and help policy building, whether it's for a school or district or it's another group that's interested in figuring out what can we do to help our kids and be stronger supporters.
What an awesome program.
Cassie, can you tell us a little bit about the tapping solution, which I kind of found kind of interested me. So I was wondering if you could expand on what that is.
Sure. When I start with my students talking about our mental health, an easy thing for them to relate to is having stress and feeling it worked up in our bodies, and what do we do to calm ourselves down. So I share with them, and I'll give this to you guys so you can include it.
Great.
This is kind of a choice board of different things that they can do to calm down in the moment. And there are some active things like pushing really hard against a wall that won't move.
Cool.
Or it might be a breathing strategy. One of them that I love to do with all of my students, as I was researching different ways to teach, is the tapping solution. The Tapping Solution Foundation, and they have a website, and they've got these diagrams, and they're basically based on the premise that we have these sensitive places in our nervous system.
Okay.
We're applying, like we've heard of acupuncture, acupressure. In this case, it's a gentle, soft tapping rhythm to specific places on our bodies. And so they have the karate chop position as one of them. And then you go to the eyebrows.
Okay.
And you breathe deeply and just tap. And you cross your arms like you're giving yourself a hug and get yourself on the side of the rib cage. I tell them this one, hey, you could do this sitting at your desk and nobody even knows you're doing
I have
it.
no
Yeah.
idea you're doing it.
And you breathe. And it just helps to calm the nervous system. I let them pick a couple of them for the first 10 minutes of class and just relax. And they love to color. Coloring is a big one
Cool,
that
yeah.
they like to do.
Yeah.
And I've even discovered that, you know what, that actually makes me feel pretty good too.
Totally.
And I have coloring sheets that have some positive phrases on them.
Oh, I love that.
And
I love that.
it's great.
I think those are so good because, a lot of times you'll get kids who say, I can't do the breathing. The breathing doesn't help me or anything. So if you could do the tapping so they could focus on that, even though they are still breathing, the focus is on the tapping, or the coloring, that's still kind of helping them to relax and get out of that stress response.
Absolutely. And I have like sitting in child's pose. I've got walk outside or look out the window for 5 minutes, count how many different colors you can see. So I give I've got 25 different things on there that they can choose from.
That is so wonderful to give them all those options, and then they can pick what works best for them. And that actually reminds me of another thing you kind of talked about, was that like I think it was a mental health self-management plan that people would create.
Oh.
Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah. So when it comes down to it, I teach skills. The health education standards have a standard that students will demonstrate practices that support health and wellness.
Okay.
So it's about giving kids the skills that they need for no matter whatever they might face in their life, they're going to be prepared for it. Versus I could do what some health teachers do and have them learn about schizophrenia and bipolar disorder and things that may be scary to some of them. And some of it they won't even need to know or they won't remember, and it's not
Right.
all that helpful to them. They need to
Right.
know how to calm down in the moment. They need to
Right.
know how to communicate. And so back to the mental health self-management plan, as Tom was talking about, and I'll send this to you as well. It gives them places to write in. If I feel stressed out, I will. And there's 3 blanks for physical activities.
Okay.
What things do you like to shoot hoops? Do you like to do push-ups? Do you like to go for a walk? What do you like to do as a physical activity? How do you use up your muscle energy safely? Is it punching that pillow, screaming in the pillow? Breathe these ways. And they'll always say, in and out. Yeah, right. We already do that. So give me something new.
Right.
So infinity breathing.
Sure.
Square breathing. And then they go in, fill in their plan. So when they get to a moment of, oh my goodness, my head is going to explode, I'm so frustrated or upset or sad or hurt, whatever it may be, they have ideas of what to write or draw. They have ideas already written down where to go when they feel that way, who they can talk to, what can they say in their head, a mantra or a one word to kind of calm them and get them centered again. And I tell them, this goes in your sock drawer. And they go,
Yeah.
what? I'm like, okay, not everybody has a sock drawer.
Yeah.
But when I was growing up, I had a little drawer just for socks. There like nothing else fit in there, just for socks. And when I wanted to hide something from my brothers, I hid it in my sock drawer because you know what they didn't ever go looking for is my socks. So think about where is your safe place.
Yeah.
And the goal of it is really we think about these things while we're calm, and we can think because we learn about how stress limits their ability to think because they're just in survival mode.
Yep.
You can't think of who can I go talk to, where can I go to, what can I draw a picture of, what can I be writing about, what was that thing I was going to say in my head to calm myself down. You're not going to remember that,
Yeah.
but you can go to your sock drawer and pull out that list and you're set.
Wow, so many great resources, so many great ideas, leading us back to that question for that parent. How do you teach this stuff? I think, self-management plan. Thank you so much for sharing some of those resources as well. Last question I've got, which we have to get back to.
Yeah.
Tell us about this
I
cemetery.
got to know. I got to know.
All right. Well, I attend a small church that dates back to, I think they were founded in 1851 is when they established themselves. They had been meeting for a while in homes prior to that, but we're talking pioneers in Indiana.
Cool.
And they built a sanctuary in 1881, and across the street from that is the cemetery. And it's just a little church graveyard, really. It dates back, though, to 1837. So before even the church was there, it was just the land of some of the people that started that community and that church. Mm-hmm. And it was like their family land, and that's where their family was buried. Mm-hmm. We still do burials today, and I'm one of the younger people in my church, and they were like, I'll bet she and her husband could mow that grass without breaking their backs, unlike some of the rest of us. So they asked us if we would do that, and my husband started doing the mowing, and they're like, can we teach you guys how to mark graves for when they have to do a burial? And I was like, yeah, why not?
Okay.
Yeah, sure, we can do that. And so my husband and my boys go out usually when we get a death notification, and it's not a lot. I mean, a busy year is like 3 in a year.
Okay.
And we go out, we mark the grave, and I attend funerals for people I don't know.
That's
Wow.
that is so cool. What a unique random thing.
It
It's
is,
a fun
like-
fact.
You know the game Two Truths and a Lie?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
that's perfect.
Totally.
It's really good for that game because people are like, Pioneer Cemetery? Who does that?
That's 100%
Cassie
alive.
Brooks.
Yeah.
Cassie Brooks does that.
Cassie, thank you so much. This was such an awesome conversation, stuff that I'm going to take away for myself. Thank you so much for the time, and we appreciate you.
You're very welcome.
What'd you think, Jeannie?
What I really loved is when she was discussing how she begins her unit on mental health, and she really focuses on reducing the stigma. And when she first said that, I was like, reducing the stigma, like, where's this going to go? I don't really get it. She gave that analogy of, if you have a headache, you don't just pretend that, you don't have a headache. You tell people, if you're feeling off, man, I have a headache. I don't feel so great. And sometimes if the headache gets really bad, you need to take medicine, and how that is the same thing for our mental health. It just was super eye-opening for me, and I feel like a really easy thing for kids and adults to understand, to get more insight into how some people might feel. So
Agree.
so eye-opening. But what about you? What stood out for you?
The thing that I really liked was the amount of resources. She
Yes.
offered a ton of different resources, the Erika's Lighthouse,
Mm-hmm.
the tapping solution stuff, and the chart with all these techniques. I think there's
Sure.
like 25 on that chart.
Yeah, the
So
coping
we definitely-
strategies.
Exactly. Yeah. All those coping strategies.
Yeah.
That was when I saw her speak. She had handed all this out. And that's one of the big reasons I thought we definitely should have her
Mm-hmm.
on the podcast, because she had so many different ideas that I hadn't heard of before.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll definitely link those up so people can have those.
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think Cassie's amazing. She talked about how when she kind of started doing this, she didn't really have the resources. So she was like, well, what do I do? How do I, manage this? So when it's happening in my own classroom, I see the importance of it, but what do I do? And she has certainly gone to wonderfully extreme lengths to find all these different resources
to not only share them with her students, but then to share them at these conferences and to share them on the podcast today. So Cassie, thank you so much. We learned so much from you. Thanks for being a guest on the podcast.
Yes, thank you, Cassie, so much. And Jeannie, we got one more episode for this season.
One more.
Next episode is the last of season number 2. So we'll see everybody in May. The Raising Resilient Kids podcast is sponsored by Happy You're Here, educational, safe, and joyful videos for kids. Through music, visuals, and sound, your baby, toddler, and preschooler will learn about letters, numbers, and so much more. Happy You're Here is quality screen time that both kiddos and their adults can feel good about. Head to www.youtube.com/@SoHappyYouAreHere to check it out or click on the link in the show notes.
The Raising Resilient Kids podcast is also sponsored by the Resilient Youth Program. If you're a parent, teacher, or school administrator who wants to incorporate a proven resiliency building program into your school's curriculum, then the Resilient Youth Teach the Teacher program is exactly what you need. This curriculum brings coping skills and life management tools into the school environment to help students better manage daily stress and positively impact their academic performance, mental health, and well-being. For more information, visit the Resilient Youth Teach the Teacher website in the show notes or at www.smarthwp.com/RY 4 teachers. That's www.smarthwp.com/RY 4 teachers. The Raising Resilient Kids podcast is produced, hosted, and edited by brother and sister team Tom and Jeannie Klishevitz. Do you have a question you would like answered by one of our expert guests? If so, visit www.smarthwp.com/Raising Resilient Kids podcast. Thanks for listening.